Welcome to Intuitive Flow. I'm your host, Mikaela Filar, intuitive energetic healer, medium, entrepreneur, and mindset mentor with a mission to help you step into your fullest potential by giving you the tools to rid yourself of limiting beliefs, love yourself unconditionally, and create the reality that you dream of living. It is time to transform your mindset, get unstuck, and step into the highest frequency version of yourself who has unshakable confidence. I am even answering your juiciest questions regarding all things intuition, manifestation, personal development, self-love, self-image, and helping you work through your dilemmas, intuitively guiding you to expand your mindset and level up in life. So turn up the volume and get excited for this intuitive flow. Hey guys, welcome back to Intuitive Flow with Mikaela Filar. Today is such a special day because we have a special guest here, Sammy, on the podcast. Sammy is a business coach. She helps women build confidence and freedom in their business and their life. And I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you so much for coming and pouring into my audience. Please introduce yourself. Yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honour. And if you can't notice with the accent, I'm from Australia. So I feel like sometimes we sound so like bogan compared to like other countries.
I
So
love your accent. I think it's incredible. I actually, side note, okay, so I was just on Sammy's podcast she just released it this week actually, but anyways, I digress. And I got off that episode recording and my boyfriend got home and I started talking like you. He was like, "Where is this accent coming from?" I was like, I had a podcast recording with a guest and she's from Australia and I don't know, I just want to sound like her now.
I love that.
It was
I
fun.
feel like we always sound like so silly and so because we cut like we shorten all of our words. So anyway, if you hear me shorten my words, it just is what it is. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on the podcast, and it's such an honor to be in your space. And I feel like we both very connect when it comes to how much we like really value our intuition and our connection to ourselves, and that's something that I highly speak of within my business. And business is a big part of my life. It's a huge passion of mine, and I feel like that's what I'm really excited to speak into today. And I guess a little bit about me is I'm 26, almost coming into my Saturn return, which I'm like kind of a little bit nervous for.
I think it's going to be incredible. It's going to be an incredible story. It always is. It's always a great journey.
I'm excited because I feel like that's when the big moments in life happens for people and everything kind of just sheds away. So I'm excited. I am a mum of a little boy who's 2.5 now. And I feel like that was a huge journey for me to really become connected to my intuition, because when you become a mum, you've kind of just got to figure things out for yourself, because what works for one person doesn't work for yourself, like for anyone else. And I feel like that's what really brought me into the connection with my intuition and into the space of business. I've always been someone that's highly passionate about business. I've had a business since I was 19. My first business was a beauty business, and I did lashes and makeup and all the things. And I've just always been someone that kind of goes against the grain. Like in high school, I was told, beauty's not really a proper career, that I should probably have a backup, those kinds of things. And I've always just been very like determined, ambitious. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this work. Like, I don't care if I make any money. My goal at the end of the day is just to be happy and to enjoy life and to live life, right? And I think that's, to me, what I love about business is like, there's so much like creative freedom for you to really make it whatever you want it to make and to be, and to make your own hours and to have more time and to just have more freedom. And again, freedom is something that I highly value. So I very much come into the business world at the age of 19, very determined to make it work somehow. And I always had, the open eye for wanting to launch products and create like different services and expand and build a business that is essentially an empire. And then as I kind of, and I sort of just journeyed on through that for a little while. And then I kind of got to the point where I was like, I don't really want to do so much outer beauty anymore, because what I was meeting, like the women that I was meeting, right, it was all about making themselves look beautiful on the outside, but so many women were struggling with how they felt about themselves internally. And so there was just this calling for something deeper, something more with the inner beauty. And I feel like that definitely comes to your connection to self as well. Like who you are, who you're being, and how you are treating yourself, what your relationship is with yourself. And that essentially brought me into this business. So that's kind of a little bit of my journey into business and into the spiritual world.
I love that. That's amazing. There's a couple things that I want to touch on. Number one is, how frustrating is it when you hear people come up to you, you're passionate, you're sharing, you're talking about your business, how you're an entrepreneur, blah, 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 and you're just living your best life. And then somebody's like, I don't know if that's going to end up working out for you. Like, you should probably have a plan B. Like, how did you
Mhm.
overcome them saying that to you? Like, how did you stand your ground and just, like, I guess, have that radical self-trust to really trust yourself enough to go after being an entrepreneur, sticking with what you saw the vision for yourself being, and like putting your blinders on, as I like to say, and just not care about what other people think? I feel like so many people really struggle with that.
Yeah, I think because I was only in year 10, so I was quite young. I would definitely say I'm very lucky because my mum has her own business. So she kind of already understood it. And she was like, okay, maybe it won't make you lots of money, but like if it makes you happy, just go for it. And I'm very lucky that she kind of supported me down that path. She never pressured me to go to uni, which is like college maybe for you guys. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I was very lucky in that way. She was like, okay, you want to go do a beauty course? Like, we're going to put you into an actual beauty school. So you're learning proper skills. So I very much had the support of my mum, which I'm highly, highly grateful for. But I think as well, it was just like, it was my soul's mission and nothing was going to stop me. Like there was definitely doubt and fear and all the things that I experienced. And I experience it all the time with every new adventure that I go on. But I really think that I was also like just a little bit naive at that age as well. I was kind of like, I don't know what to expect. So I kind of just went into it very like, okay, like this is what feels good for me right now. I'm just going to make it work. And it did. Like at my first year of business was, pretty typical. You don't earn lots of money. And I was like, that's okay. Like I had a part-time job. And then as I come into my second, third year of business, I was booked out. Like I couldn't fit any more people in. And yeah, it just showed, it was like continuing to build the trust, right? Because it just, at the start, you don't have any evidence. And I think that that's one thing that I've always been good at, is just continuing to do things without having the physical evidence to see and just following that intuitive feeling. So I guess I would say that I've always had a connection to my intuition in some sense. But it was also just like, this is my soul's mission and I will stop at nothing to get there. It was like there was nothing that was going to derail me from that mission.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. Not a lot of people have that tenacity to like keep going when people doubt them, but it's so important that you had that support system from your mom. And I was going to ask you if you have parents that were entrepreneurs, because when you're so like, that is so young to like start your own business and be like, I
Yeah,
got this. Like you had to, we
yeah,
learn from what we see as children. So if
definitely.
that's definitely something that you picked up on along the way, for sure. And I love that for you.
Yeah, no, that's what I love about, like our parents as well. But I would also say that there was a negative to that, because I also saw my mum go through a period where she almost went bankrupt. Like our home was almost taken away. Like this was like her second or third year in business, and she had so many overheads. And I remember, like, I grew up with my stepdad, and he was like a dad to me. And I remember them, like fighting and had this like internal feeling that was like so deeply rooted in me, was like, I'm going to lose my dad. I'm going to lose my father figure because they're going to break up because of money, because of business. So one of my biggest shadows in this business has been fighting past that subconscious part of me that wants to that's scared that business might do the same to my family. And so I've done a lot of work, I would say, in the last maybe 6 to 12 months of really starting to rewire that. Because, yeah, when I grew up, I just had these strong memories of like, people in business really struggle. It's really hard, and it's easy to go bankrupt, and then you're going to affect your family. And yeah, it was really huge. So as much as I got to, because my mum's business is like really successful now, but it wasn't always at the start. So it's been a bit of a bumpy road, kind of trying to navigate those stories of how I saw business.
Yeah. No, yeah, but the fact that it's succeeding now and you being able to see that success story too, and just also go into the business state of mind of, okay, I know that I'm not going to be raking in the dough the first year, maybe even 2 years of business, but like I know that if I stick with it and I never give up and I have that tenacity, that eventually something's got to stick, right?
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
resilience. Like, it's building a muscle. Like, I was not a resilient person when I first started this business, but it's like the more and more that I've continued to do this, and like this year has been the most challenging year in business for me. The first like year in my current business where I'm like mentoring women in a whole different realm as well, like mindset, spirituality, business. Like it's just very different to what I've experienced before, where I was just doing services essentially. But it's been really challenging because I think when I first started it, I was kind of like almost ego based of like, I'm going to make $100,000 in my first year of business. I'm going to like show everyone how easy it is to make this work, because I was almost coming from this like trauma experience of like, well, I saw my mum fail and I'm not failing and I'm going to do it like this. And so it took a whole year of just like going through challenges and experiences and getting to know myself on a deeper level, where I'm very much in this space of like, yes, I know I'm going to make money in this business. Yes, I know I'm going to make impact, but I also know that I'm going to do hard work to get there. Like I know that it's going to, like I'm going to be challenged in many ways again and again, and I'm going to just keep building that resilience. And the more and more you do that, the more challenges come through, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like let's handle this. Like let's move through this. This is not a reason to just get rid of the business and feel like I'm not good enough. Like I've got this deep trust within myself that I know that when things arise, I can navigate through it.
Yeah, that's amazing. For those listening, um, they have a question for you coming through me.
Mhm.
Wondering if I was desiring to start a business, or I have started a business and it's going slowly and it's hard and I'm wanting to give up, what's some advice that you would give to them, to those
Mm,
people?
this is the perfect, yeah. Honestly, I know people are like, they probably don't want to hear it, but you need to invest in yourself. You need to invest in your personal development. You need to invest in having like a business mentor. You need to learn from someone that has done the things that you want to do. And I have invested lots, right? And there was experiences where I was almost just investing in people that when I took a step back, I was like, oh, they're not actually doing the things that I want to do. So really being really intentional with who you're investing your time and your money with, but knowing that it's important. I know when you're first, especially when you first come into business where you're not making money, people don't want to invest. They're like, I'll wait until I make money and then. But it's like
Oh yeah,
someone
no, it doesn't
explained
work
to
like
me.
that.
Yeah, someone explained to me. It's like do you want to like get on a plane and you can get there really quickly, or you can drive your car there. It's going to take some time. You will get there, but it's going to take time. And it's not saying that things have to happen really quickly, but also like how much time are you essentially wasting? How much energy are you wasting by trying to think that you can do it all yourself? Because we can't. Like, and I had this realization that I've just invested in a high level mentor for next year who's going to be helping me with every aspect of my business, not just like the mentality side of it, the spirituality side of it, but also like content, business support, all that stuff. Because I had this realization, like, if you want to be a millionaire, like in your business, if you want to be making big impact, being seen by the world, making lots of money, like, are you going to be doing it alone? No, like you've got to have systems in place and support in place. And I think it's like I've noticed a lot of people like almost like extremely feminine, but they've got no support to hold them. Like it's like the feminine's the water and the masculine is like the riverbank. And it's like, if we don't have a riverbank to help like guide us and hold us and support us, then we're kind of just like floating around in chaos. I feel like having that support system is that person that lets you be in your feminine, be in your flow, while they hold accountability for you. They hold that support for you. And that's what I mean when it's like being really intentional with the person that you choose to be there for you. And like this year in my business, I had a couple of different people. I had someone that did, I had like a spiritual mentor, and I had a business mentor, and then I had like a marketing mentor, just because my dreams for my business are really big. And so I know it can be like really scary to invest, but I think just having that support, because the thing is, if I go to a family member and tell them like, I'm going to be a millionaire in my business one day, I'm going to have a private chef, and I'm going to like be making really big impact, and the world's going to know me, and blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, really? Okay, like maybe, I don't know, because they're filtering it from their own perspective. It was kind of like when the teacher told me, that's not really a proper career. That's her own perspective. That's the way that she sees the world, her filter of the world. So why would I take advice for someone that doesn't see the world through a similar lens to me? Which is, I think, the power of like investing in someone that's above you, that's someone that's done the things. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you brought up feminine and masculine energy and the structure and the flow, because I notice in your content and the way that you do show up online that you are very much so like you're very good at being in your feminine while also being like, yeah, this is my there's a little bit of masculine, like it's just a very healthy balance. And I'm wondering how, like, were you always like that, or like was there something that you specifically did, like what was the journey there?
There was very much a journey. Like, I was highly masculine. I come from a family of all women that are very predominantly masculine, very guarded, very short, like very wounded masculine energy. And like I said, I grew up with my mum. Like, she had a business, but she had two other jobs, like hustling, working hard, never being home. That was just kind of the environment that I was raised in. We didn't talk about our feelings, we didn't express anything. And I was always the sensitive kid, the one that was like, I kind of felt a lot of shame for it as a child. Like, I'm too soft. I'm too soft. I'm too
Oh,
sensitive. And I started growing, when I started growing up, I'd become this like very guarded, like people would say that I just can't read you. Like, I cannot read you, because I was just so good at just like shielding myself. So I was very much aware that there was a lot of these masculine energies playing out, especially like in my relationship. It was like I was very much dominating my partner, but then being like, why does he not give me anything? And so
you were taking all the marbles, you had to give him some marbles back.
yeah, exactly. And so last year I went on this full journey to just do a lot of feminine work. And I worked with a mentor for like 9 months we just did a lot of feminine work. Like, I went on like retreats, and I went to lots of events, and I learned a lot of skills on how to like connect to my body, how to alchemize my emotions, how to experience emotions in the body, how to hold more capacity in my body. And that work was truly transformative for me, because I realized that I didn't need to be all masculine, but then I almost swung a little bit too feminine, where I kind of just was in this chaos all the time of like, oh, I don't really need to do anything. I'll just float around and things will just kind of like happen for me. Like, I'll just lay back and I'll say that I want it, and then it will appear. And just went through this whole experience where I just swung the other way. And that's usually what happens. Like, people kind of like, they come in and they do the feminine work, and then they swing that whole other way. Now, what you'll see in my content is very much this like balance, where like I have these masculine things in my life to hold me, to so that I can be in my feminine, so that I can still be soft and gentle and like nurturing. And one thing that I definitely like reframed within my family was that I am not the provider, I am the nourisher of the family. And that takes us out of, and just because I'm the nourisher of the family doesn't mean that I can't make money, doesn't mean that I can't have a business, but I don't need to be the one in control. I don't need to be the one that, necessarily takes the lead all the time. So there was very much this journey of like learning to soften, but also integrating, taking action. like doing things in my business, because that's what happened. I hit this moment in my business, probably it was this year, maybe in like August, where I was like, nothing's happening in my business. And I was just having like lots of baths during the day and just relaxing lots and kind of just like flowing. And I just have these like sit down and be creative and write stuff in my journal. But it never went any further than that because I didn't have any sort of like structure or any action happening in my business. So I had this realization where I was like, okay, like how can I bring these two together to make them
Yeah.
work? Because the masculine and the feminine are both a part of us. We're not just one, we're both. And so it's like learning to really integrate that. I think that's the thing. It's like we can all learn the skills, but it's about integrating it as well. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is like being able to integrate it into their body.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So many people get wrapped up in like the whole, if it's meant for me, it will be easy and it will be flowy and it will be simple and it will just come. It will just show up. I'll just wake up one day and my life is going to be exactly the way that I manifest it to be. But the reality is like if you don't have that masculine energy and that structure and the discipline to like do the physical, right? I see masculine and feminine energy as like the masculine is like the physical action taking part, and then the feminine is the flowy and the receiving and the, you know, having both of those together is is where the magic happens. But if you've got too much of one and you don't have that balance, you're either gonna like, it's either nothing's gonna happen or or honestly, some stuff will happen, but it'll feel very forced, it'll feel very out of alignment, it'll feel very like uh just yucky and sticky and not good. So when you have both, we need 100% of the physical and 100% of the energetic. And when you can get both, like that's where the magic hits. And that's why like when it comes to intuition and stuff and like with channeling, I always channel the physical and the energetic. If like a client is desiring to like work with me and they want to manifest something into their reality, you've got to pull the physical and the energetic tools for you to like get what you're wanting, because you can't just have one without the other. I can't tell you to like write in your journal, I am a millionaire 75 times and then put it under your pillow and, you know, do a little prayer before bed and like then it'll come. You'll, you know, you have to have the physical, the masculine end of it too. So that's, I mean, what you're doing with that and how you're bringing in both, you know, into business coaching is really incredible.
Yeah,
Is that where I'm sorry, is that where the confidence CEO came into play? Like,
yeah, very much, because like I said, I found myself kind of like just floating a little bit. And because I was so in this feminine world, like I was around women that are just like, their experience is that it's all just feminine. And, you know, I found myself getting caught up in that. And I felt this like, kind of like, I actually felt this disconnect to my intuition because I was trying to mold myself into what they were doing, because I was like, they, you know, say that that's the way of being, so I've got to be like that. And, you know, if I want to be really deeply spiritual and deeply feminine and deeply connected to my body, then I've got to be like them and like just float around all the time. But the masculine has always been a part of me as well, and there is that healthy part where like I am someone that can get things done. Like it's something that I'm like really good at, is like I get things done, not in a place of like rush or hurry or because I have to. I genuinely like, if I like something, then I'll do it. So I feel like that was kind of like the experience that I went through. And then, yeah, like I really just started to notice that that flow was like necessary. And to me, like flow is not necessarily just being like in your complete feminine. It's like having those structures. And that's where like the CEO energy come in, was like, to me, the CEO energy is like the embodiment of the feminine and the masculine. It's like having that like connection within your body. It's being the leader. It's stepping out and being seen as well, like taking ourselves out of this employee energy, because I was almost again trying to play into that employee energy. And it's like, no, I'm the leader. And that means that I need support, I need to make sure that I'm investing in the right spaces and that I have structures in my business, right? Because a CEO of like $1 million company, they're going to have people working for them. They're going to have systems in place. They're going to have support. You want to take a week off for a holiday. If you've got no systems in place, then how are you going to be able to take a week off and get paid for it still? So I just started to ask myself those questions, and that's where like this confidence come in. Like for me, confidence is a huge part in business and in life. And it's like that true, authentic confidence. And confidence is found within. It's found within. So many people think that it's an external thing, but it comes from going on this journey within yourself. And like I said, for me, that was like swinging from one end to the other of different energies to be able to go like, what actually feels authentic to me? Not what like so-and-so says that this is the way of being and that's how spirituality should be. What feels good for me? What can I embrace? What is it that makes me special? And so that was very much this journey of like building this confidence within, building that self-trust, building that self-love, and building that self-worth. Like again, building a muscle, because we're born with it and then it's kind of taken away from us. So we've got to find it again within ourselves. So that CEO energy is like, and it's been big, right? Because it's calling a lot of women in to step up and to lead. And so the reason that it took me so long to step into that energy was because I didn't fear failing. I had a fear of being seen, because I was used to, as a kid, not being seen. I would hide away. I would mold myself into environments to be safe. And so the CEO energy calls people into leading, being seen, being bold, making big moves, making big money, making big impact. That's to me what that energy calls you to, right? And so that's why it can be really hard for people to claim it. And that's why in my business, I was like, I don't want to step into that, because what if people aren't ready for it? And we've just got to trust that again, it's my calling. I don't know why it's my calling, but I just know that it's my calling for my next season in business and in life.
Yeah, I love that. What when you noticed that you aren't, it's not that you're not confident, it's just that you have a fear of being seen. What did you do to overcome that fear?
For me, there's a couple of things that I did. Like I have a spiritual mentor, so we did a lot of inner work, like going back into like a lot of it's actually past lives, if anyone believes in that sort of stuff. We did a lot of
We definitely do on this podcast over here.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so I can go all into it. So yeah, a lot of
Yes.
past life stuff where I was like a slave or like a servant or like just really poor. But when we went like even further back, there was lives where I'd had this like extreme wealth and this extreme power and this extreme confidence. And so I had to really go back into those like moments where I had nothing and I was like told that I was nothing, and really start to like work through that to be able to start feeling safe in that energy. Because like I said, this wasn't even just from my childhood or generations before me or past lives. There was so many experiences where I had been shamed, made to be small, told that I'm not good enough. And so we started sort of like chipping away at those different like past lives that they would come up. And a lot of it was always like connected to my solar plexus, because of course that's where your confidence lies, your power. So doing like a lot of work around my solar plexus as well. And again, that's why like to me, I like having a few mentors, because I like having a spiritual mentor, and then I like also having a business, so that I can have a bit of both, because I think both are very necessary like for life.
Yeah, I agree. I had a business and a spiritual mentor when I like first started this journey too, and it's what you need.
And what I love about like my spiritual mentor is she's been my most like transformative mentor that I've worked with so far. I think we've worked together for like 4 months. She helps me find my own answers within myself. She can channel my spirit guides, she can do all the things, but because I've said to her, like, I want to find my own answers. I don't want you to tell me. I want you to support me into like going within myself and finding those. And that's been powerful, because it's like, it's now like encoded in my DNA, like this new way of being. So I would definitely recommend, like, again, like working with you, again, like to understand your intuition and how to connect in with those parts of yourself, because they're so like ingrained in our body that we don't even have conscious awareness of them until we go within. So that's been really transformative for me. And again, like, you do the session, you feel really great afterwards, but it takes time to just start. You just slowly start seeing these like subtle like changes in your physical world. And that's where I think it doesn't make sense to the mind, because the mind wants to see like a result right now in the physical realm, but you don't. It's just like, it's an energetic thing. And so for me, like in the 4 months, like life has just started to shift. Like the CEO energy is just coming through stronger and stronger. The more that I go back in to those moments where I was really poor and treated badly, and I get that woman up and I stand her up and I hug her and I tell her she's going to be okay and that I love her, and that, you know, it's just so healing. And I think that's been like truly transformative for me. But also just, again, like, I feel like I kind of got into, when I did a lot of the feminine work as well, like I got into this like, oh, it's got to be like soft feminine music and you've got to like just float around and And now I'm like, no, I'm listening to this like badass music, like connecting in with that like CEO, like she's confident, she's bold, she's strong, like she's a woman that knows herself. And sometimes that's like R&B music, like it looks different, but it's like being multifaceted and like connecting in with these energies. Like in the mornings now, that's kind of like my ritual. Like it's like sometimes it's meditation and sometimes it's dancing to R&B music. Like it looks different, but it's just like, to me, that's like how I connect into that confidence and just build it more and more. And then it's like slowly getting on social media and posting more and more. Now I post 5 days a week, which is like amazing. But before it was like one day, and then I was like, oh, what are people going to think? Oh my God. You just build it. Again, I think it's just a building phase, and you have to allow yourself time to repeat it over and over again, because that's how we build confidence, is through repetition.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's, you made such a good point when you mentioned just, you're not going to see the change overnight, but the more you integrate what you're learning or what you were given to work on in the session, when you take that outside of the session and actually implement it into your life, that's when you start to see the change in your physical reality. But it does take time for our 3D world to catch up. I love how you mentioned that, because that's such an important aspect, that we're just so used to getting everything instantly and wanting everything like at the snap of a finger. And it's just, when things come at the snap of a finger, it's not sustainable, right? Like it's not sustainable, and it's not something that's long lasting. So I love that you mentioned that.
People give up like so quickly because it's like,
100%.
oh, I don't see a result straight away, it mustn't work. Like, the amount of faith and trust that I've had to, like, this year has been rocky. I'm not going to lie. There's been moments where I'm like, okay, I'm going to look for a part-time job. And then I'm like, wait, you don't want to be looking for a part-time job in this energy of like lack and, you know, there's been so many moments where it's like, okay, like you've got to hold on to the faith. Like I ran an event recently. I had 3 women that were like, yes, I'm in. And then they tried to pull out, and then they were in, and I had to stay in my energy. Like they went into their chaos, they went into their fear. I had to kind of step into that healthy masculine of being like, I'm here to hold you. I've got you. You're safe, but I'm not coming out of my energy like to feed into your energy. I'm here. I'm going to stand in my light, and I'm going to pull you in, because you know what? This is scary, because I'm pulling you into your CEO energy, right? Like, of course you're going to be scared, but if you're ready to like to lean in with me, like here's my hand, I'll take you and I'll hold you. But yeah, it's very much like just having that connection with yourself when you notice these things kind of like around you that are spiraling, just being able to really stay like so grounded in your own energy. And again, this faith and trust, like this would not be on my heart if it wasn't meant for me. So I have to just keep moving forward, however that looks.
Exactly. Yeah, so true. So true. So I've loved there was something that you mentioned in the beginning of this episode, and it was that when you were doing your beauty business, you were noticing through your clients that they were coming to you to fix things externally of themselves, but truly they had a lot of internal things that they needed to shift. And you felt that kind of like pull to be helping them with their self-love, their self-image. Can you shed a little or give us a little bit more of the tea when it comes to your own personal journey with self-love and self-image, and how you transitioned from beauty to CEO of confidence coach, business
Yeah,
coach.
amazing. Yeah, I feel like what anyone would know that gets their lashes done, like it's not just a lash appointment, it's always like a therapy appointment. And so for me, that's where like that change come in. I was like, I feel like I can't take women any further in these sessions now. It's kind of like that's this it was very surface level. And yeah, like for me personally, like when I was younger, it was all about getting the lashes and getting the Botox and getting the things that would fix myself. And I think definitely during COVID, that was kind of like a bit of an eye opener for a lot of people, because being
Oh
in beauty,
yeah.
well, I stopped working for 9 weeks and I'd never had that much time with myself. Like I just went straight from like, I always had a full-time job, like, part-time job in school, then went straight to like my business. And, I was working crazy hours. And then when COVID hit, it was kind of like you couldn't get your lashes done, you couldn't get your Botox done, you couldn't get anything done anymore. And for me personally, like 9 weeks by myself, it was like, whoa, like this is a lot. And so for me personally, that's when I started to do like a lot of self-reflection. I started to read like some books, started to just again receive more like intuitive messages. And I was in my hometown still with my like long-term ex-partner, and I just kind of looked around me and I was like, oh, I'm not even happy. Like I thought, because I had like the successful business and I was making lots of money and it looked great on the outside, that I had this amazing life, but I had this realization that I'm like, I'm not happy. I'm not like confident in myself. I don't look in the mirror and love myself. Instead, I just like look in the mirror and pick at myself and look at how many things I could do. Like I did so many different things to my face, like from filler to Botox to like jawline slimming. And I remember my mum like saying, like, Sammy, you've got to stop. Like it just kind of got out of control. And then I like got really bad like filler done and I looked awful, and it really hit me. And then that was the moment where I was like, none of this is actually making me feel better. It might make me feel good for like a short amount of time, but I still don't feel good about myself on the inside. I don't feel confident. I feel like I'm just trying to like act. It felt like I was constantly like this actor that was just trying to portray this certain amount of confidence in this life. And so that was very much my journey, where I started to do a lot of the work on the side. And then so after COVID, I flipped my life upside down, left my relationship, moved to a whole different town, like moved away from my family, started a new life essentially. And that's when I really like started to do like I ended up doing some like study in hypnotherapy and timeline therapy and neurolinguistic programming, just to start learning some more about myself. Like I wanted to know on a deeper level. And I think that's where that journey with myself like really, really started. And I just started to kind of embody a lot of the things that I was learning. And so I continued my lash business in a different town, and I started just meeting lots of women, and some of them were like beautiful. I had women that were like, like really popular on Instagram, like had like a huge following, but then you kind of got to know them like on a deeper personal level, and they were all struggling. They weren't happy. They didn't feel good about themselves. They criticized themselves. Like it was just crazy, like seeing like the beauty on the outside, but it didn't really like reflect because of the way that they felt about themselves on the inside. And so you'd have these conversations where they're struggling in their relationships and they're struggling in their friendships and just struggling in life in general because they didn't have any sense of like self-worth or self-love or self-trust. And
Mm.
so that for me was like, whoa, like there's something missing here. Like it doesn't matter about how much you do. And like I still love beauty. Like I still love getting those things done, but I do it for myself now, not for other people. I don't do it for this external validation, because I think people get mixed up with kind of like self-worth and like self-esteem as well. It's like they're two different things, and your self-worth is internal, right? Like
Yeah.
people also feel your energy. People feel your energy before they even see what you look like.
Yeah.
And that was huge to me. Like, okay, we've got to do something here. Like this has to change. And there's only so much you can have in a conversation with women like that are getting their lashes done. Like you can't try and like coach them through life.
Yeah, no, that'd be a little bit too much. I don't think that they came there for that either. So even if you did try, like out of the goodness of your heart, they'd be like, okay, that was kind of like too
Yeah.
far.
And
Like
I
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
They'd probably be like, oh God, like I didn't want to like have an entire epiphany during my lash appointment.
And I did. Like, I had moments with some girls where, like, we would have those conversations, and I just was naturally really good at, like, kind of like almost like problem solving. I can see beneath the skin. Like, I can always see what's underneath. And so there were so many moments where, like, I'd have clients like messaging me like, "Oh my god, you changed my life." Like, I had clients that literally were coming to my appointments not because they cared about my lashes, because they like wanted to have the conversations with me.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's where I
that's
was
such
like,
a sign that you're on the right
yeah,
path of doing like what you're
right.
meant to be doing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, okay, life is leading me somewhere else. And I had people that were genuinely so sad. They're like, can't you please just keep doing lashes as well? And it was one of those moments where, like, I was genuinely good at it. I was good at it. I had a good business, but it just wasn't my soul's calling. And this is like the thing is, like, I think people expect you to just stay in the one place all the time. And like, I literally sold all my lash equipment. I sold everything, and people were like, "Oh, maybe you should keep it, like, just in case, you want to come back."
No, you got to
I'm like,
get
"No,
rid
no,
of
this
the
is the end of the journey now."
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's such, it takes such a strong person to like be like, no, like that was a chapter, like it's done.
Mhm.
I'm ready to move on to the next chapter. And that's so amazing that you had the confidence, like, right, to even go and to do that. I completely resonate with the whole like getting all of the work done in your face. I mean, I went through kind of a phase with that too, of like injecting and Botox and all the things that we do because of the external validation and honestly what's like shoved in our face, or like preventative Botox, like that's not a thing. I
No.
don't know. There was just so much that's like constantly put on us from society. It's like pressure. Society like puts this pressure on us to like look a certain way and to be a certain way and to do certain things at a certain age. And for you to like break apart from that and to kind of come back home to yourself, like asking yourself, why am I doing this? What is this all for? Is
Mhm.
so beautiful and important. And I went through something very, very similar to that as far as like, I completely stopped. I haven't gotten any of that done in like 2 years, but there was a
Yeah.
time where I remember I went to an event for work and like my face was, I couldn't move my face
Yeah.
because of how much Botox and lip filler I had put in my face. And I just look back at those photos and I'm like, dude, like that version of me had so much more going on internally that
Yeah.
then I was like letting out. I was making it seem like I was this happy, successful. I was in
Mhm.
network marketing at the moment. And then, I looking back on it, now that I'm out of that, it's like, wow, like I'm so happy that I woke up and like
Yeah.
stopped doing all of these things to like make people perceive me in a certain way, that
And that's
didn't,
like,
and I didn't make me feel good because it wasn't who I
no.
truly was.
I agree, and that's like that's why you have to be so cautious with like social media and things like that as well, and like why your connection to yourself is the most important because, like I said, I worked with people that their Instagrams looked amazing, their lives looked amazing, they had so much beauty, but their lives were definitely not like that, like on the inside. And that's where I think we look so much outside of ourselves. Oh, like that person's got that life and that looks amazing. I want a life like that. But, you know, they only see the surface level. They don't see what's like behind closed doors. And I think that that's like also the importance of like sharing your story and sharing the hard moments that you also experience and sharing the moments where because I think all women, like we've all gone through these moments where we're trying to change all these parts about ourselves. And like, truly the more that I've done like mirror work and connected in with myself, the more beauty I actually see. I actually genuinely look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, you look really beautiful. Like I actually see so much like deep beauty in myself. And I don't like have this like criticism anymore where it's like I truly feel like I look 10 times better than I did a year ago or 2 years ago. Nothing's really changed. I've not got any Botox. I've not got any filler. Like it's just the way that I'm seeing myself is like I
Yeah.
know myself on such a deep level now that I see this true beauty.
Yeah, and that's the magic of self-love and self-image work. Like it is truly the key to life. I will
Yeah,
stand by that until the day I die. When you
definitely.
fully love who you are inside and out and you know yourself, you're winning. You're winning at life. Period.
Absolutely.
End of story.
Mhm.
So, okay. Isn't it funny how, you talk about you had kind of a dark night of the soul moment, and you said you were like, you woke up and you're like living a life that you felt you weren't happy in. And and you dropped everything. You broke up with your ex, you moved, to a different town, and you restarted. And that's kind of when things started to organically lead you into the direction into the place that you're at now. I think so many people wonder about, oh, what's if I do want to create a business, like what's my business going to be? Like, how am I going to help others? And I truly believe that it's when you have those dark night of the soul moments and you hit, maybe it's rock bottom for you, that and then you pull yourself out of it and you have that unique experience where you're pulling yourself out of the dark night of the soul moment or the rock bottom, and you're, maybe using different modalities here and there and learning from different mentors and doing different things, but like you take that experience and you kind of bridge the gap, and then that's how you help others. That's how you create your business. And that's what I've done. That's what you've done. And that's what I feel like a lot of really successful entrepreneurs do is they see, they go through something crazy. They pull themselves out of it. They see that there's a way that they can help others also kind of bridge that gap for them. And then they go and they start a business from it. And I think that that's just such a powerful thing to keep in mind when you are hitting rock bottom, or if you maybe you are right now and you're listening to this and you're you're at rock bottom right now, or maybe you've been through something in the past that you feel like is rock bottom, and maybe you're just kind of letting yourself stay stuck there because you haven't worked through the trauma or anything yet, right? And you're listening to this, let this be a sign for you to start to do the work necessary to pull yourself out of that, because that journey in and of itself could lead to such incredible things. It did for myself, it did for Sammy, and I hope that it does for you if you're listening to this and this is resonating for you. Okay. Okay, Sammy, one more question for you. This has been so amazing. 2025 is obviously here already, which is, and I just don't understand how time goes by so quickly, but it's here. And if I was a beginning entrepreneur and I wanted to set some realistic goals for myself in 2025, what's the advice you would give me?
It would definitely depend on like what stage you're in, like in your journey. If you're sort of in the start, like getting really clear, like that's the first part is like what is it that you can teach and what can you embody, not what other people have had success by, like what you think a product is that everyone needs or whatever it is. Like find something that you truly can embody, an energy that you can embody, because that's how people will learn from you and that's where people will invest in you. But definitely, again, like going in, having some support, getting really clear, just writing down what it is that you actually want for yourself, and being really specific in a sense of like, how many hours do you want to work? Like, what kind of money do you want to make? Like, what do your days need to look like? Do you have family? Do you have like study that you're doing? And again, what do you need to learn as well? Because learning is a huge part of it as well. Like, is there any study that you need to do? Is there anything that's going to support you in your gifts, in what you can give to the world? So again, I think it definitely comes into like a lot of planning, and it's not so much of like 2025 goals. Like, don't just write 2025 goals and then just write and then like leave it at that. Like, start breaking down. I always like to kind of like take some step back. So say that you want to start a business. Okay, what are the steps that you've got to like take to get there? And it's the 1%ers, right? Like, it's not the I've got to do everything right now. What's 1% that you can do every single day? That's 365 days later, and you've taken 365 steps to get closer. So breaking it down into those really like minuscule like steps, instead of just being like, I've got to be here by this amount of time. Like, what are the small things? Like, maybe it's just getting an idea in place. What are you good at? What do you have to share? Like, where are you noticing like a gap in the market? What is something that you struggle with that you need, that you feel like helps you? Like, what can you offer? And that was for me. It was like, okay, I struggle with having time freedom in my family. I struggle with like having all these things in my family. What can I do to help support my family? What can I create that is going to work around my family ultimately? Because if I went and got a job, that's not going to support my family. It's going to take me away from my family. So getting clear on your values, like what do you value? Let that lead you. So for me, it's my values are freedom, money, and family. So when I make decisions, they have to align with those values. So if you ask me, like, let's go away for a whole year and go travel the world, that doesn't align with my family values. So I'm going to say no. So getting really clear on what it is that you value so that you know what you can say yes and no to, you know, the sort of like path that you're walking down. So yeah, I definitely say get clear on those values, get an idea in place, like what it is that you want to do, and then break it down into small action pieces, even if that means you need to have someone that helps keep you accountable. I love the book Atomic Habits as well. Like, I feel like that's really good because it takes you from this whole different energy of like setting goals to creating habits. It's very two different things. Like, setting goals is just saying in 2025, I'm not going to drink. Like, but do you actually have habits in place to stop you from not drinking? Like, you've got to have those things in place. So I would definitely recommend reading that book as well. But yeah, I would say
So
the
good.
benefits. Yeah.
So good. Thank you so much for that. That's incredible advice. I love I always say zoom out, like whatever you
Mhm.
have planned, like zoom out and
Get a
make
piece
sure that
of
you,
paper, write it in the middle. Like, I like to
yes.
draw all lines. I have like a big, huge piece of paper. I sit on the floor. I put some like high frequency music on and I just sit there and I just put thoughts to paper, because if you keep it just in your mind, it's just going to continue spiraling in your mind. Your ego is going to come through. It's going to make all these reasons why you can't do it. Put it on a piece of paper, like zoom out, have it all there, and then prioritize like what actually needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. And like, for me as well, like, I am very much in my feminine, but I have structure in a sense of like, I write myself a list. Like, these are the things that I have to get done this week to actually create change in my business or to build momentum in my business. So I am going to get them done. It's not from a place of force, but it's being like able to prioritize, like, okay, this is important to do. And that might be different for everyone. Again, like, I'm just a list person. I like putting my thoughts to paper because I have a lot of thoughts come through, as I'm sure everyone does. So it's kind of a way to just take it out of your mind, put it on paper, take a step back. Okay, what do I actually need to do right now? What do I actually need to prioritize?
Yeah. So that's such great advice, you guys. Take that advice, write it down, make sure you are listening. If it's been a pull on your heart to start some sort of business, whatever it is. All right, guys. Sammie, thank you so much for coming on and for spending your morning. It's your morning time with us. I appreciate you and all of the incredible knowledge that you dropped for us, for the audience today. And I cannot wait to hear what they have to say about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor.
Of course. All right, guys. If you like this episode, make sure you leave a rating and review, send this to a friend and screenshot it and share it to your Instagram. That's how the podcast can grow. I appreciate you guys so much for listening. And as always, we will chat soon. Bye.